time ago, there was a storyteller and 3 little girls, and every afternoon he told stories to them. Can't you see them? All in the golden afternoon, full leisurely we glide, for both our oars with little skill by little arms are plied, while little hands make vain pretense our wanderings to guide. No sooner would he finish one story than they would clamor for another. Ah, cruel 3 in such an hour, beneath such dreamy weather, to beg a tale of breath too weak to stir the tiniest feather. Yet what can one poor voice avail against 3 tongues together? The storyteller made up a wonderful story about Alice. She was one of the 3 little girls he was talking to, a story called Alice in Wonderland. Thus grew the tale of Wonderland, thus slowly, one by one, its quaint events were hammered out, and now the tale is done. And home we steer, a merry crew, beneath the setting sun. I suppose you know the story of Alice in Wonderland. Alice was picking daisies one day when a white rabbit with pink eyes came along talking to himself. He said, oh dear, I shall be too late. The rabbit popped down a rabbit hole, and down went Alice after it. Suddenly Alice began to fall, down, 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 very slowly, and suddenly, thump. The fall was over, and Alice wasn't hurt a bit. Finally, she came to a tiny door. There was a little bottle with the words, "Drink me," on it. Alice drank from the bottle, and in a minute she was only 10 inches high. Then she saw a little cake that was marked, "Eat me." Alice ate the little cake, and she began to grow. In a minute, she was 9 feet high. Then she started to sing a song she knew, and the strangest words came out. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pours the waters of the Nile upon each shining scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. A large blue caterpillar sitting on a mushroom said to Alice in a sleepy voice, "Repeat your old, Father William." So Alice folded her hands and began. "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white. And yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?" "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again." "You are old," said the youth, "as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turn a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason for that?" "In my youth," said the sage, as he shook his gray locks, "I kept all my limbs very supple by the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple." "You are old," said the youth, "and your jaws are too weak for anything stronger than suet. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it?" "In my youth," said his father, "I took to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength that it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life." "You are old," said the youth, "one would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balance an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever?" "I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough," said his father. "Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off or I'll kick you downstairs. Alice came to a little house and went into the kitchen. The cook was throwing dishes and plates and saucepans and pepper at the Duchess, who sat singing and holding a crying baby. Every time baby sneezed, she'd shake it, and the louder the baby cried, the louder she'd sing. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. Well, well, well. The baby was really a little pig, but Alice didn't know it then. I speak severely to my boy. I beat him when he sneezes, for he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases. There was a table set under a tree, and the March Hare and the Mad Hatter were having tea with the Dormouse sitting between them, fast asleep. The Mad Hatter told Alice, at a great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, I had to sing this. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at. Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky. Here the Dormouse began singing in his sleep. Twinkle, 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 twinkle. And they had to punch it to make it stop. While the Dormouse is sleeping, I'll tell you about a song that Humpty Dumpty explained to Alice. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves and the mome ran that grave. Humpty Dumpty explained the words like this. Brillig means 4 o'clock when you're broiling things for dinner. Slithy means lithe and slimy. Toves are something like badgers or lizards or corkscrews. They nest under sundials and live on cheese. To gyre is to go around like a top. To gimble is to make holes like a gimlet. And mimsy means flimsy and miserable. A borogove is a thin, shabby-looking bird, something like a live mop. And mome raths, a rath is a sort of green pig. And mome is short for at home. Then out grabbing is something between bellowing and whistling. That's what Humpty Dumpty told Alice. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub-Jub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjous day, Callooh, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe. Oh, mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths out grave. Here's the song about Fury and the Mouse. First, mouse music. Dog or cat music. Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, let us both go to law, I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial, we must have a trial, for really this morning I have nothing to do. Said the mouse to the cur, such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge would be wasting our breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury, said cunning old Fury, I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death. The Mock Turtle, who was always crying, told Alice about going to school. He said, I studied reeling and writhing and the different branches of arithmetic, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision. Then there was mystery, ancient and modern, and stereography. Then I studied drawling, stretching, and fainting in coils. Then there was laughing and grief and games, and the Mock Turtle and the Gryphon danced around Alice while the Mock Turtle sang very sadly the Lobster Quadrille. Will you walk a little faster, said the whiting to the snail. There's a porpoise right behind me, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advance. They are waiting on the shingle. Will you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? You can really have no notion how delightful it will be when they take us up and throw us with the lobsters out to sea. But the snail replied, too far, and gave a look askance. Said he thanked the whiting kindly, but he would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not, would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not join the dance. What matters it how far we go, his scaly friend replied. There is another shore, you know, upon the other side. The further off from England, the nearer is to France. Then turn not pale, beloved snail, but come and join the dance. Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? Alice told her adventures to the Mock Turtle and the Gryphon, but when she tried to sing Your Old Father William, the words all came out different. The Gryphon said, It's about as curious as can be. Stand up and repeat, 'tis the voice of the sluggard. Alice began, but the words came out very queer indeed. 'Tis the voice of the lobster, I heard him declare. You have baked me too brown, I must sugar my hair. As a duck with its eyelids, so he with his nose trims his belt and his buttons and turns out his toes. When the sands are all dry, he is gay as a lark and will talk in contemptuous tones to a shark. But when the tide rises and sharks are around, his voice has a timid and tremulous sound. The Mock Turtle said, Well, I never heard it before, but it sounds like uncommon sense. The Gryphon said impatiently, Go on with the next verse. Alice didn't dare disobey him, and although she was sure the words would come out all wrong, she went on in a trembling voice. I passed by his garden and marked with one eye how the owl and the oyster were sharing the pie. The panther took pie crust and gravy and meat, while the owl had the dish as its share of the treat. When the pie was all finished, the owl, as a boon, was kindly permitted to pocket the spoon, while the panther received knife and fork with a growl and concluded the banquet by... What's the use of repeating all that stuff? The Mock Turtle interrupted. The Gryphon said to Alice, Would you like for the Mock Turtle to sing you a song? Sing a turtle soup, will you, old fellow? The Mock Turtle sighed deeply, and in a voice sometimes choked with sobs, he began to sing this. Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in a hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stoop? Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup.
Beautiful soup, who cares for fish, game, or any other dish? Who would not give all else for two pennyworth only of beautiful soup? Pennyworth only of beautiful soup. Beautiful soup, beautiful soup, soup of the evening. Beautiful, beautiful soup.
Just then they heard someone say, "The trial's beginning," so they hurried to the trial. The King and Queen of Hearts were seated on the throne. The whole pack of cards were standing round. The knaves stood in chains, and the king said, "Herald, read the accusation." And the White Rabbit blew the trumpet. Then he read the accusation.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts all on a summer's day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
The trial went on till the White Rabbit found some verses and read them to the jury.
They told me you had been to her and mentioned me to him. She gave me a good character, but said I could not swim. He sent them word I had not gone, we know it to be true. If she should push the matter on, what would become of you? I gave her one, they gave him two, you gave us three or more. They all returned from him to you, though they were mine before. If I or she should chance to be involved in this affair, he trusts to you to set them free exactly as we were. My notion was that you had been, before she had this fit, an obstacle that came between him and ourselves and it. Don't let him know she liked them best, for this must never be a secret kept from all the rest between yourself and me.
"Stuff and nonsense," said Alice. "Hold your tongue," shouted the Queen, turning purple. "I won't," said Alice. "Off with her head," shouted the Queen. "Who cares for you?" said Alice. "You're nothing but a pack of cards." And at that, the whole pack rose up in the air and came flying down upon her. Alice tried to beat them off, and she woke up.